Much is expected of Donald Trump's meeting with Kim Jong-un in Singapore next month, if it goes ahead. When the summit was announced, it seemed a breakthrough had been reached in the strained relations between the United States and North Korea. The question of whether the Nobel Peace Prize should be awarded to Trump was met with typical modesty by the man himself. "Everyone thinks so," he said, "but I would never say it." But then came complaints from Pyongyang about U.S.-South Korean joint military exercises, which showed that the current government in Seoul is an ignorant and incompetent group devoid of the elementary sense of the present situation, according to a statement from the North. Not the most promising comments in the circumstances, nor were those chosen by John Bolton, the hawkish new Secretary of State, about North Korea following the Libya option of giving up its weapons of mass destruction program, which was interpreted as a warning about regime change. "We do not hide our feeling of repugnance towards," Bolton said a statement by North Korea's Vice Foreign Minister, Kim Jong-un. So the meeting might never happen. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the White House press secretary, was sanguine about it. "If they want to meet, we'll be ready, and if they don't, that's okay too," she said on Wednesday. Peter Frankopan, Getty Images. As it is, there are mismatches in expectation and also in the narrative of why the meeting is due to happen in the first place. The Americans see the summit as the result of sustained pressure on Pyongyang, which has paid off handsomely and opened the door to the possibility of a major change in the politics of the Korean peninsula. The North Koreans, however, do not believe they have a weak hand and have been forced to the table. In fact, they think that successful tests of their ballistic missiles, which have already brought Hawaii within range and may do the same for the western seaboard of the USA within the next 4 years, have opened new opportunities that are worth taking seriously. It is worth remembering that high-profile meetings tend to be a nightmare to arrange. They are occasions where more can go wrong than can go right. Political leaders of all persuasions tend to have big egos, and can also suffer from bad luck and bad judgment that can serve to damage relations, rather than improve them. Gerhard Schroeder's visit to Jerusalem, when the then German Chancellor accidentally turned off the flame at the Yad Vashem Holocaust Memorial, provides one example. Meetings between rival leaders are a relatively new phenomenon. The 12 men dressed in black who ran alongside Kim Jong-un's car when it crossed into South Korea last month helped to explain why. In the modern world, as well as in the past, security is a nervy and difficult issue. One who did not take this seriously enough was the Inca Emperor, Atahualpa, who took the promises about his safety by the Spanish at their word in Cajamarca in 1532, and severely underestimated the ability of forces that were dwarfed by his own resources. He ended up being taken prisoner, opening the way for the conquest of his empire and its riches being stripped bare. "Flatter the person you are negotiating with," wrote Trump 30 years ago. "It makes them think big." Medieval kings, princes and knights heading to Jerusalem provided opportunities for meetings that were equally nervy on both sides when they reached the great city of Constantinople, capital of the Byzantine Empire. In 1097, the Emperor Alexios locked the city down amid tense scenes of heightened security. Met individual magnates in turn, with some being so anxious that he would poison them that they refused to eat the feast he laid on. To avoid overpowering his guests with elaborate displays of ritual at the imperial palace, Alexios took the Tony Blair approach, deciding that blokish mingling with leaders who turned up wearing their finest vestments would be better than sitting on a throne that could rise to reach the height of the ceiling. It backfired. One of the visitors had to be manhandled off the throne after he saw it was empty and decided to try it out for size. The pressure of putting on a good show got to Henry VIII and Francois of France before they met at the Field of the Cloth of Gold in 1520, when competitive beard growing before the meeting was followed up by a friendly wrestling match. Tell that to each man's panic-stricken advisors. Then there are the dangers of the ad lib, something that Trump's camp will want to keep an eye on. Kaiser Wilhelm not only changed the agreed text of an alliance with Russia when he met Tsar Nicholas II at Bjorko in 1905, but did so for the worse. It caused his chancellor to threaten to resign in fury. "Think of my poor wife and children," the Kaiser begged, trying to avoid a crisis. Summits can produce results, as Ronald Reagan's meetings with Mikhail Gorbachev showed in the 1980s. Building a personal rapport is the key to generating momentum that can help each leader to get things done at home, as well as to move to a wider agreement. It's all about the art of the deal, which, as luck would have it, it is the name of one of Trump's books. "Flatter the person you are negotiating with," wrote Trump 30 years ago. "It makes them think big. I call it truthful hyperbole," he writes. In the right context, it might even be called diplomacy. But first, the meeting has to actually take place. Peter Frank opens the Silk Roads, A New History of the World, as published by Bloomsbury.